Citizens of my lunar empire, it is time to build a moonbase in a game called Moonbase, which I am declaring is the second city builder ever made. And I know, for those of you gaming historians out there, there are some contentions and arguments as to how this is not the second city builder ever made. But I'm going to give you my reasons, and you see if you agree with them. So, just to say what Moonbase is. Lunar Colony Simulator. This released in 1990, and as you can see, it says, take a giant leap in simulations. This is the year after SimCity. And back in the day, games were made within 3 to 15 months. 15 months would be a long development cycle. A lot of games were made within 6 to 12 months. So this would have been made with SimCity in mind. And, as it says, you are commander of Project Moonbase, NASA's long-range plan to colonize Earth's moon. From your multi-million-dollar annual budgets, you must establish a base, then manage its growth into a fully fledged independent colony. With savvy and luck, you may create a self-sufficient city on the moon. But not without adeptly handling the myriad leadership problems in this highly charged, political, and harsh physical environment. Sounds good. Now keep in mind, this is the year 1990. That's a screenshot of the game. Honestly, not too bad. It's not that colorful. I think this document is a little tinted or colored, but okay. NASA modeling at your command. Select and clear a site for the lunar colony. Build landing pads. Erect habitat modules. Set up power stations and grids. Create mining and processing facilities. Supply essential life support services to the colonists. Comprehensive socio and economic models from KDT Industries, a NASA contractor, animate and enliven your base. Explore and exploit the moon's surface. Explore the lunar surface for new mining sites. Process the raw materials you find into oxygen, water, and helium-3. Then use them internally or sell them to Mars missions. Build hotels for fat cats from Earth. Profits from ventures like these can free you from Earth's purse strings. You might even want to declare independence. Is this an American game? I think it is. Air leak in solar station number 3. Pressure loss, radiation leaks, power outages. Any accident can break your tenuous hold on this hostile surface. Can you cope with nuclear contamination, solar flares, and meteor showers fast enough to save the colony? Will Project Moonbase flourish or die, Commander? This might be the first ever survival city builder. Just from the description. Now, I've tried to learn, I messed around with the game a little bit, and it is confusing, and I could not find the proper manual. This is the most information I can find on the game. Besides the system requirements. Any Amiga. Look at that system requirement. Any Amiga. Just any of them. Have you seen a system requirement like that before? Just any Amiga. 512K RAM. 1 floppy drive. Kickstart and Workbench 1.2 or greater. I don't even know what those are. Is that like DirectX? Like you gotta have like DirectX installed or something. So is this like some kind of proto thing? So this was by Wesson International. All rights reserved, 1990. You can see on like this next page here, it's got the side of the cover art here. This is what the floppy disk looked like. Copyright 1990, 1991. KDT Industries, I think, like, is that actually like a contractor for NASA? And then there's system and install requirements and running the game. Like this is the most I can find on the manual of this game. Like there's no actual UI descriptions or anything. Beyond this, on the other pages, it's just other languages. And this is our introduction to Moonbase, Lunar Colony Simulator. Now, if you want to discuss what is the first ever city builder, let's have a look. Here's this list on Wikipedia about the list of city building games. And you can see there's quite a few before SimCity, and there's others between SimCity and Moonbase. So why am I calling Moonbase the second ever city builder? So starting at the top, there's the Sumerian game, and most of the ones before SimCity are essentially the Sumerian game. And particularly these starting ones, you can see they are text-based games. Because this was 1964 and 1969 and 1975. These are text-based games, 1978. This, Santa Pravia and Fiumacchio. It's essentially the Sumerian game. It's inspired and based on it. It's just Italian-themed instead. But this one kinda could be argued as a city builder. But it is more of a colony management sim / tycoon / strategy game. So these games back here could be argued as city builders in the same way that Civilization could be argued as a city builder. And these first three are text-based, so it's like, we get graphics in 1978. I'm not sure if you can find screenshots on that. Kingdom. It is also a conversion of the game Hammurabi. So you can see Kingdom, it's basically Hammurabi. Hammurabi is an expansion of the Sumer game. The Sumer game is an adaptation of the Sumerian game. These are all the same game. They're just taking the same idea and going through it. Utopia kind of looks like what the Sumerian game would be if it had graphics, and it's essentially a 4X game where it's 2 players on separate continents, and yeah, you place cities like you do in Civ, and there's some resource management and disaster management, and there's things like that, but I would not call it a city building game. For reference, a city building game, as far as I have thought about extensively for years in terms of what a city building game is, the primary requirement is you build houses, you place houses. Not build houses like you place walls and beds and doors. No, that's The Sims. That's a different kind of game. You place houses that people live in. So, Age of Empires, not a city builder. You place houses, but people don't live in them. They just provide PopCap, which is like a supply depot in StarCraft. So, I don't consider these first games here before SimCity to be city building games for various reasons. They're mostly strategy simulations, if nothing else. And although they are based around the concept of cities, they would not be city building games. Like if they were released today, they might get the city building tag on Steam, but it wouldn't be the first tag. It would be at best 3rd, 4th, 5th tag down the line. And that's not quite a city builder. And then we go to SimCity, which we all know, it established the genre. Kind of like how Dune 2 established the RTS. And although you could say, for example, Herzog Zwei is an RTS, or other games, Dune 1 could be argued as an RTS, they're not RTS in what we understand the genre to be. Kind of like how Wolfenstein 3D established the first-person shooter. But in the 70s, we had tank simulations where you're driving a tank around and shooting at things from a first-person perspective. But we don't call those FPS. So Dune 2 established the RTS genre. SimCity established the city-building genre. And I would be willing to call the games before that proto-city builders, but they're not city-building games as we would understand it today. So then there's ActRaiser. ActRaiser is more of an RPG with base management. And we've got a lot of games like this today, where you have like an XCOM, where you are going out and fighting things and doing things in the world, but then you go back to a home base and then you manage your base. ActRaiser kind of works like that, but your home base is a city. So it's here on this list of potential city building games. But again, it's not quite a city building game in that sense. It's more of an RPG. You can see the description. It's a side-scrolling platforming game with city building and god game elements. And the god game elements is something that exists in these earlier games as well. The Hammurabi Sumerian games, Utopia, Santa Paravia, and Fiumacchio. These also all have elements of god games. And that did kind of influence where the city building game came from, the genre. You know, you're looking down on the city and you're placing and controlling things. It's very god game-esque, you know, early Populous, Sim Earth, that kind of stuff, right? You are sky view. But god games and city builders, although sharing elements, are not the same genre. So if SimCity, as we have established, at least by my definition, and I think a very reasonable definition, is the first proper city builder, and ActRaiser is more of a side-scrolling RPG adventure platformer with a city building base to manage and build up, Moonbase then becomes the second ever city builder. And this fulfills, first, the main criteria. You are placing houses that people live in. They're called habitats because it's on the moon, but you're placing residences, you're placing houses, and people live in them. And based on the description, it also sounds like the first ever survival city builder, because although SimCity has disasters, SimCity always has disasters, Moonbase actually has this idea of building a settlement in a harsh environment. And this Moonbase inspired many other games later on down the line. I don't know why Lunar Command is showing Moonbase as well, but there's Lunar Command. But also, personally, back in the day, I played Outpost. Outpost is another city builder where you are going out into space, way beyond the moon, into space, and you're building up a space colony city thing in a harsh environment, and you have an AI, and you got to keep your people alive. So that's also a survival city builder. But Moonbase pretty much set the stage for all of this. And I do also consider Utopia, the creation of a nation, to be a city builder, but I'll cover that in another video. But I would say Utopia, the creation of a nation, is the third ever city building game. Not to be confused with 1992's Utopia, which is more of a god game 4X strategy simulation thing. So I hope this covers why I consider Moonbase to be the second ever city builder. And you may agree with me, but if you don't agree with me, please do share your thoughts, because I do spend a lot of time thinking about genres and genre definitions and what people expect. And there is the context of the time, but there's also the context of now. And I think this approach makes the most sense.